So the role of reservations. Now, this is important for what we were just touching on. So when you are negotiating as a nation for a nation to indicate it will sign the convention or covenant or treaty, you may also make some reservations. So just like in your everyday life, you may be saying that you're interested in something, but you do have some things that you're not so sure about, and you want to discuss them further and negotiate them. So it's possible to say what those reservations are about the obligations under the conventions. So any kind of protocol amendments or supplements to an earlier treaty or agreement. So let's have a look at an example. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, or the ICCPR, is a multilateral treaty, so it's ratified by many nation states, more than two, and it's binding on states that ratify it. Australia became a signatory in 1980, but it has reserved certain rights in relation to some of the provisions. So, for example, Australia didn't agree to the provision that all juvenile offenders must not be held in custody in adult prisons. So that's why that still happens in Australia, because we've not agreed to that provision as part of the ICCPR, and that's something that that other nation states may disagree with, because they may have not reserved their right to go against that part of the convention. So an example of a paragraph response to explain the role of reservations. So it's a unilateral statement made by a state whereby it is basically promising to it, or it's saying that it's going to exclude or alter the legal effect of certain provisions of the treaty in their application to that state. So it's saying overall we are agreeing to this this treaty or this convention. However, we aren't agreeing to this specific aspect of it, and we don't need to follow the different things that it's outlining in that section of it. So the role of reservations is to enable a state to accept a multilateral treaty as a whole by giving it the option not to apply those certain provisions which it doesn't agree with or it doesn't want to comply with. So reservations can be made when the treaty is signed or when it's ratified, accepted, approved, or acceded to. You've got lots of different options there with the timing. Reservations must not be incompatible with the object and purpose of the treaty. So, of course, there are some limitations to this. We can't just say, yes, we agree to this treaty, but we're not following this aspect, this aspect, this aspect, because there would get to a point where you're actually not agreeing to anything. You're needing mainly to follow the most of the principles in a treaty and then just have some reservations potentially. Otherwise, it would be incompatible. So a treaty can also prohibit reservations or only allow for certain reservations to be made. So if a treaty has certain kind of certain ideas embedded in it that are really important, something that really, if you go against that, if you have a reservation about that, then really it's not compatible with the overall idea of the treaty. That could be stipulated as a reservation that can't be made. Yeah, so there are limitations there to make sure that basically things can work, and that everything is compatible. So it's good to have this idea of reservations, but it does have to have limitations for it to function logically.